Three, two, one. What's up, fam? It's your boy Demuir here, purveyor of all sounds underground. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel today, where I'll be discussing an important lesson I learned from one of my mentors, which is the currency of patience and being able to gain the benefits of that as you are going through your journey of becoming, a professional DJ and producer, or just becoming better at your craft overall. But before we jump into things, what I need from you is that SLC, hit subscribe, like, comment, and more importantly, hit the notifications bell to stay in touch with the new videos that we have up and coming. Okay, let's talk about the currency of patience. And I was reminded of this after seeing Dennis Ferrer recently here in Toronto at a gig he was playing. And the last time I saw Dennis was like over, I want to say 3 years ago, WMC Miami, while Carey was playing. Super cool day, and it was nice to see him again. But at the gig, I couldn't tell you how many people I've run into that are actively involved with this YouTube channel, that have learned a number of different things from this YouTube channel. And one of the biggest things is, I had a couple of people just thanking me for, just responding to certain DMs on questions on the topic of patience and how to deal with local bullshit. If you haven't seen my video on that, where, in almost every city, there is bound to be a group of people that are just simply comfortable with working with one another and always put each other on, and it works for them locally. And my response to that was typically, well, you just have to think at a global level to get put on everywhere, as opposed to being so focused on what's happening in the microcosm of local or locality stuff. So anyway, I was reminded by a number of individuals about some of my responses on the topic of patience, and it takes me back to where I've learned about this and going through the frustrations and what feels like the monotony of making and learning how to create music and DJing and all of that stuff, and feeling like you're getting nowhere at the end of the day. So what I want to say is this is super important, because this will be the thing that carries you through what feels like a low moment. Those times when locally a huge festival's announced and people just bypass you, even though those fucking DJs that are at the festival are playing your fucking music, or they've hit you up for music. It's just important to have patience in these scenarios, because it could really take you off track if you dive into it and overthink it in a negative manner. So I think the first point here is having patience, or the benefit of it rather, is that it adds a huge depth, of comprehensive perspective. And what I mean by that is it allows you to step back and say, look at the whole picture and understand everything that's going on. So in that example I just gave you, where you're possibly making some strides in your career and some DJs have commented on the quality of your tracks, but yet when they come to your town, no one's putting you on the gig. It's just to have the patience enough to say, okay, well, what's going on here? Well, the reality is that not everybody knows who the fuck you are. Even though you're working super hard and you're signing on all of these great labels or getting close to building that level of momentum, not everybody knows who the hell you are. And as a result of that, most promoters and people in business will be very comfortable, especially in our industry, to continuously work with people that have generated what they deem as quote-unquote successful and consistent nights. So that's just part of the game here. So that adds that depth of perspective. The other depth of perspective that patience offers you is in those moments where you can actually say to yourself, well, maybe I'm not at that level where I am convincingly, the right choice for whatever gigs, or the right choice for certain labels, or it offers you a different opportunity, especially in the times that we live in now, in terms of building your own platform, going to a Patreon, going to a Bandcamp or Beats Union for that matter, and just building upon that. So the depth and comprehensive nature of perspective is so sweet in terms of what comes with the value and currency of patience. And point number 2 is the fact that, I've run into this many times where patience, it just defines reality for me. Like, it just tells you this is what is really going on. And it's none of this emotional shit that might be coming from you internally or projected upon you from third parties in a negative sense. It just tells you this is what's really going on. So there's a number of instances where I've talked to different people in the come up of their career where I've said, well, what sort of investments have you made in terms of your career? And some of the answers are, well, I've made these relationship connections, but I don't have any tracks out, or I'm not actively working on tracks. Or I get, the complete inverse of that, where, they have a bunch of tracks, but no relationships built at a local or even a global level. So that becomes the reality of what they are, or the construct of what they are working in. And it's important through patience, when you have that depth of perspective and the clarity of the reality of that's what you're dealing with. So if that's it, then the issue is a marketing one, or you need to connect with people who are actually taking action on your behalf and generating the right opportunities for yourself. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, but defining the reality of the situation is key. And sometimes you might come to the conclusion that locally people just can't see you right now because they're so comfortable with those that they're working with, and that's fine. Then your reality is to focus at the global level and get to a point where people can no longer fucking ignore you. And point number 3, I think, is an important one, kind of comes in step with my previous point on defining the reality through patience, which is it offers a huge amount of clarity of things. And through that clarity, you ask yourself certain questions like, who or what am I doing that adds value in terms of my journey right now? And more importantly, who or what needs to fuck off that's not adding value as a result of whatever they're contributing or the amount of time that they're taking up. You need to just ask yourself these questions. And I just find when you're patient, all these things just come through in a beautiful sequence at the right space and time that you need it in order to continue, keeping you motivated through, and through all of these things. And the clarity, it refocuses you to shift back with really strong tunnel vision on why you're doing this shit. So that clarity adds a huge amount of value, but you can't get to this stuff unless you show a good amount of patience. And I know there's a lot of people just like, oh, whatever, this is like some motivational talk. It actually is not intended to be that way. It's just I recognize through the interactions I've had with a number of different people who have subscribed to this channel, who are going after their dreams to become professional DJs and producers, often will run into this place where they require patience. It's part of the process, the monotony of going after success. And as a result of that, patience will refocus you ultimately back to why you're doing this shit and keep you focused and ultimately on the path towards achieving the reality of your goals. So I think I'm going to stop there because, I hope that will add value to someone somewhere. It's often something that comes up, and it's nice to see the light bulbs go off with different people that I talk to about the value and or currency of patience. The conversation doesn't have to stop here. I usually join the conversation within 48 hours of posting these videos in the comments, or you can join our Discord server where you can link up with a lot of other aspiring DJs and producers on their way to doing great things. Much love and respect to you. Peace.